Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Holy Humanist. Thank you all so much for being here. Today, I would like to talk about a topic that I've been meaning to for a while now. It's come on the back of a number of terrorist incidents, specifically one major incident that we've had here in the UK, and more broadly into, I guess, the reason I started this channel in the first place, in terms of how Islam is directly detrimental to women and just how dangerous the ideology is in terms of its treatment and outlook towards women. So, without further ado, let's get started. What do you get when you combine Islam's hatred for music, its obsession for controlling women, and a global pop icon who sings about heartbreak, freedom, and self empowerment? You get Taylor Swift, public enemy number one for Islamists. From fatwas to terror plots, the backlash against her is not just about her concert, it's about everything she represents. A woman living loudly, unapologetically, influencing millions of young girls, and doing it without asking for any permission. Let's start with Islam's problem with music itself. Islamic scholars, from Al-Ghazali to Ibn Taymiyyah, have condemned music as haram, not just because of lyrics, but because music stirs emotions, encourages joy, dancing, and distracts from Allah. The Hadith literature, within the Sunni school of thought at least, is filled with condemnations of instruments, singing, and even rhythmic clapping. One Hadith reads, "There'll be among my ummah people who'll consider as permissible illegal sexual intercourse, the wearing of silk for men, the drinking of alcoholic drinks, cheers, and the use of musical instruments, ma'azif in Arabic," and that is Sahih al-Bukhari 5590. While saying Muslim doesn't directly ban music, it's got hadiths linking musical sounds to frivolity and disobedience. Historically, Al-Ghazali had one of the most nuanced views when it came to music. He didn't consider music haram in and of itself. He argued it depends on context, content, and the soul's state. Ibn Taymiyyah, extremely anti-music. And his student, Ibn al-Qayyim, even wrote a full section against it. And Imam al-Nawawi took a more cautious stance. Now, fast forward to this century. The Taliban banned music completely when they took control of Afghanistan. ISIS executed street musicians, and even in so-called moderate Muslim countries, concerts face censorship, threats, and shutdowns. Notwithstanding the fact that countries like, obviously, the UAE have allowed this for a while, and now Saudi Arabia is catching up. It's a bit late to the game, but it is catching up indeed. But nonetheless, why is music so taboo? Because music symbolizes freedom. It symbolizes emotional expression, and most dangerously, autonomy. And when you throw women into the mix, it's even worse. A woman with a voice is a threat in Islam. A woman heard by millions, a disaster. Enter Taylor Swift, a billionaire woman who writes her own songs, tells her own stories, and owns everything she does. She's not covered up. She dances, she laughs, she thrives. She sings about breakups, self-respect, toxic relationships, and growth. And in a worldview where women are supposed to be quiet, obedient, invisible, Taylor Swift is an act of defiance. She represents everything Islamists fear. A woman influencing the youth, a woman experiencing love and flaunting her sexuality without shame, a woman who's out there in the world, for the world, and yet remains untouchable. A woman showing others how powerful that can be. And to them, that's corrupting the morals of society. Now, whether or not you're a Taylor Swift fan, I can't say I'm the biggest fan. I enjoy some of her music, but I know of a certain younger demographic of girls who are crazy about Taylor Swift the way that some men are crazy about their football teams, for example, and they follow her to that much of an extent and look up to her. Concerts and tours around the world are usually always sold out, and tickets are extremely hard to come by and pretty expensive to boot. So whether you like her or not, she has had an impact on the world. You know, she's affected elections. She's put some countries on the map just by going there to perform or singing about them. So we cannot deny the global influence of this one woman. Even in America, people were looking to see who she would endorse for the next presidential election. And I'm sure the swathes of girls and young women behind her do get affected with the way that she decides to vote and the causes that she champions. So, in the warped lens of jihadist ideology, a woman commanding stadiums of fans is not empowerment, it's satanic rebellion. And they've acted on this as well. They've actually acted on this hate. Here in the United Kingdom, 3 little girls were murdered as they attended a Taylor Swift themed dance class. They were just children dancing to their idol. And yet, that joy was enough to provoke monstrous violence. On July 29, 2024, Axel Radicabanu carried out a mass stabbing, killing Alistair Bebe and Elsie Dot. They were 9, 6, and 7 years old, respectively. Ten others were injured, including 8 children and 2 adults. Radicabanu was arrested on the spot. He was later charged with 3 counts of murder, 10 of attempted murder, possession of a bladed article, ricin, and terrorist materials, including an Al-Qaeda training manual. This was an act of unimaginable horror. It shook the nation to its core. There were riots, communities were split, and people demanded answers. And what no one dared to say out loud was this: the ideology behind the hate, it's not fringe, it's already here, all around us. Now, Radicabanu wasn't raised Muslim, but the hate that fueled him didn't come from nowhere. He had an Al-Qaeda manual, ricin, and a plan. If you know anything about Al-Qaeda, you know that they have no issues declaring music as haram. They've even gone so far as to call Taylor Swift a symbol of Western corruption. And make no mistake, they fantasized about silencing women using violence. So no, he wasn't Muslim or born into Islam, but the ideology he followed absolutely was influenced by it. One that sees dancing girls as fitna or temptation, music as haram, and joy as a crime in the eyes of God. What happened in the aftermath of the Southport murders was also tragic. While communities grieved and the nation was in shock, the state picked its target. Not the ideology, not the jihadist materials, but a woman, a mother. Lucy Connolly. She posted a raw emotional response on social media, being an outraged, broken mother that could relate. She didn't kill anyone, she didn't incite violence, she just spoke. And now she sits in prison, a post that she regretted and retracted minutes later, and yet she has been given an unforgiving sentence. She is languishing in prison with her recent appeal denied, while actual extremists still walk free. Adam Saeed, one of the commanders of attacks by Islamic gangs after the Southport incident, has been jailed for 28 months. Thank goodness he didn't post on social media, or he would be languishing in jail like Lucy Connolly is till this day. During the Southport riots, Adam Saeed led and encouraged a mob to attack a terrified man driving a Skoda and dropped off people to join in the assault at the clumsy Swan pub in Stetchford. Adam was sentenced to merely 28 months in prison. Lucy Connolly, who wrote one social media post and took it down minutes later, 31 months in prison. Encouraging violence in the streets? You get 28 months. Typing a reactionary social media post and almost immediately retracting it and apologizing? 31 months. Britain 2025, the state of the nation is such that the crime isn't what you do, it's who you are when you do it. This isn't justice. This is Keir Starmer's 2-tier system, where emotions are criminalized and ideologies are protected, where Adam Saeed gets 28 months for actually having a hand in violence, whereas a mother who simply posted something in sheer anger and emotion gets the book thrown at her, much worse. Lucy Connolly, rotting behind bars, doesn't honor the dead. It protects the guilty, and it silences the furious. Think it stops there? Think again. Taylor Swift had already been listed in jihadist forums as a target. In 2023, the Taliban called her Eras tour the largest satanic female cult in history. Female cult. In Indonesia, Islamist groups tried to ban her music videos, claiming they tempt young men into sin. And how can we forget Manchester? In Manchester, Salman Abdi didn't bomb a military base. He bombed a pop concert. Ariana Grande's. Again, young girls, music, joy. Do you see the common thread here? Starting to see a pattern? All of it. Hated, targeted, and young lives destroyed. It's not just about Taylor Swift. It's about the worldview, where music is filth, dancing is deviance, and confident women are meant to be silenced. So the next time someone tells you that Islam just means peace, respectfully remind them. Peace doesn't slaughter little girls for dancing. Peace doesn't bomb concerts. And peace doesn't burn with rage at the sound of music. Now, let me take a moment to tie this back into the wider picture of how Islam treats women. I'd like to break it down into 8 tangible points. Firstly, it literally says that we're deficient in intellect and religion. That's not a fringe opinion. I'm not making it up. That's a Sahih Hadith. The most respected books of Sunni Islam. Muhammad said it himself. Your mind, your spirituality, both subpar by design. Secondly, Islam sees us as fitna, temptation. The biggest threat to a man's faith isn't war or wealth. No, it's you. Your hair, your voice, your walk. That's why you're told to cover, stay home, lower your gaze, because your existence is a liability. Thirdly, Islam institutionalizes male sexual dominance. A man can marry 4 women, divorce them in a sentence, whereas women can't. It's all in the Quran. And he can keep sex slaves if he so wills. Which is exactly what ISIS did to the Yazidi women. It's all in the Quran. Regulated, not condemned. Because your body, it exists to serve him. Fourthly, Islam says most of hell is filled with women. Not murderers, not tyrants, not abusers, women. For what? For being ungrateful to their husbands. You don't obey, you don't smile, off to hell you go. For eternity. Fifth, the hijab, that so-called cloth of modesty. Lest we forget, it was introduced to differentiate free women from slaves, so they wouldn't be harassed. Verbatim, that is in the Quran, which means slave women were expected to be assaulted, and there was no repercussions. Let that sink in. It's not liberation, it's a label. Sixth, child marriage is not just allowed, it's divinely legislated. Remember, Sharia is divine law, and Quran 65:4 outlines divorce waiting periods for girls who haven't even menstruated yet. Yes, you heard me right. Prepubescent girls. Because Muhammad did it himself. Married Aisha at 6 and violated her at 9. 7. Rape victims need 4 male witnesses or they risk being convicted of zina in Arabic and adultery in English. That's not justice. That's weaponized patriarchy disguised as law. Imagine a woman gets raped and if no man was around to see it, she's the criminal. Make it make sense. And 8th, even in matters of death and inheritance, you're worth half of a man. Your testimony in court, half. Your share of your parents' inheritance, less than your brother's, if you have one. Islam doesn't see you as equal, clearly. It sees you as fractional. This isn't about culture or misinterpretation. This is doctrine. This is what's written. This is what's preached, and this is what's practiced. Even Fatima, Muhammad's own daughter, wasn't safe. She was allegedly slapped and silenced by Umar ibn Khattab for speaking out. Even prophetic lineage couldn't protect women. If Islam honored women, why was the Prophet's own daughter beaten and buried without legacy? Clearly, this isn't just a few bad apples. This is doctrine-backed degradation, from the Quran to the caliphs to the scholars. And if Taylor Swift triggers them, imagine how they feel about a woman who reads, who questions, and who refuses to kneel based on their Islamic sources, based on their Islamic authority. This isn't just about one singer. It's about the power of cultural freedom to break ideological chains. Every Muslim girl who sees Taylor Swift speak her mind, own her success, make her money, and stand tall, that's one less girl to accept being owned and controlled by a man. They know that. Islamists know that. And that's why they rage. Because no fatwa, no terror threat, no regime can stop the power of one single message. For example, Taylor Swift saying, "I shake it off," to millions of young girls around the world. So for them, Taylor Swift isn't just a pop star, she's the revolution. I've always said, Islam won't fall when men walk away. It will fall when women rise. When we turn our backs on an alleged prophet who cursed us. When we live for ourselves, not the men in our lives. And when we finally say, I am not your trial, I am not your fitna, I am not your slave, and I am not your burden. I am free. That's truly when the foundations start to crack. Because when women break their chains, the whole system collapses. If you found this breakdown enlightening, please do share it. Let the world see how deeply misogynistic the Islamic ideology is. This isn't just about Taylor Swift. It's about the right of every young girl and woman, Muslim or not, to dance, sing, to live, to thrive without fear. Thank you so much if you're still watching to this point. And for more content like this, please subscribe and let me know your thoughts below if you think the Islamists do see Taylor Swift or any strong woman, but particularly Taylor Swift, as a threat. I just personally felt it was important for me to make this link because of the number of terror attacks or terror-related threats I've seen regarding Taylor Swift. So it was alarming in that these Muslim terror groups are always targeting a certain demographic. And I wanted to try and understand the reasoning and the ideology behind that. For example, my own sister was going to go and attend Taylor Swift concert and see Taylor Swift perform live. But before she came to the UK, across Europe, her concerts were on high alert for the very same reason. And you do think twice about allowing or wanting your siblings to go and enjoy themselves when your mind is constantly thinking if this will be the time that they attack again, because they have done it in the past and there is a certain pattern to it. So it is a topic that I'm sure a lot of us have to contend with. If you've got children, if you've got younger siblings, or anybody really who's a fan of wanting to enjoy themselves and look up to their role models and idols, especially as a young woman. But I just think it's extremely barbaric that Islam would target such a young, vulnerable demographic. I mean, these people aren't warriors. They're absolute cowards, and they go for the most vulnerable members of society. They always go for civilians, and civilians of the most vulnerable kind. So it just goes to show you how much Islam needs to control and dominate and terrorize to keep itself intact, and also to show its muscle, whereas it does the exact opposite. I mean, there could not be a segment of society that you could target that would make you hated more, in a sense. So yeah, I just had to get that off my chest. But as I said, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below if you agree with me or you think that I'm just chatting absolute nonsense. Either way, I will see you in another video soon. But in the meantime, please be safe and make sure to dance like no one's watching and sing in the shower and wherever you go. Enjoy yourselves, because that's what Islam wouldn't want. Bye everyone. Take care. If you like these videos and want to support me in my activism, then you can support me on Patreon or PayPal. Stay free, everyone.